Today I'm gonna be showing you 5 incredible music production hacks that led my music to be played in front of hundreds of thousands of people. My name is Barg, and today we're taking a deep dive into my new song There's Snow. Even if you don't know yet, I am more than 100% sure that you'll take some valuable information out of this video, even if you are an experienced producer. So stay with me till the end because I have a bonus tip waiting for you at the end of the video. Alright, so the first tip might be obvious, but it is to sidechain your vocal echoes and reverbs so that you have a lot of space on the vocals, but still the dry signal cuts through the mix like a warm knife through butter. Alright, so as you can see, we have a full vocal group, which includes a vocal sample recorded by my good friend Mokrogulski, and it sounds something like this.
There's no. Stop teasing. Back up. I need one.
And so you can hear that there's a lot of echo here, but still the vocal manages to cut through it. What I did, I set up a return channel for the main echo and left and right echoes. And the main echo is, as you can see, being sent here on this return track. On the track, we have a standard echo boy with a 16th note delay and sidechain compressor. Ducks the signal when the vocal plays itself. This is what it sounds like with it.
There's no. Stop teasing.
And if I turn it off,
There's no. Stop teasing.
you can hear that the echo cuts into the vocal and makes it all very muddy. So to retain that clarity, use sidechains on your vocal reverbs and your vocal echoes. So the second tip is to consider using unpopular synths and samples for your main elements, because nowadays everybody's using Serum and Splice, so you have to stand out somehow. In this case, we're gonna be using Fabric from Klang, and it sounds something like this. A very simple sub, just a sine wave pitched down 3 octaves, but the main synth comes from Fabric, which is a very cool synth. It's node-based, as you can see, and it looks very complicated at first, but I promise, once you get into it, it's so nice and it's so adjustable. You can create any kind of sound you want with it. It's a preset patch that I modified a bit. Of course, there's some processing, but most of the work here is done in Fabric itself. So this is what it sounds like if it's dry. Then you add distortion, compression, and EQ and beef it up a bit to make it sound like this. And yeah, that's the sound. There's only 2 layers, the sub layer and the main layer. And it works so well because I used a high quality synth that is not very well known and can create great sounds and has great presets, so it sounds nice out of the box. By the way, if you want it, you can get a 20% discount with the code YAN20 at Klang.com. Everybody's been telling you to layer your synths, but nobody's actually telling you how to do it. Here's where tip number 3 comes in. You have to layer with intention so that every layer has its own space and purpose and that they do not fight with each other. With a few layers, you can create a very cool and powerful synth, like I did here in the bass on the second drop. And to break it down, there's 4 layers. The first one is, of course, a very simple sub bass, which is made in Serum. It's also a sine wave pitched down 3 octaves, a kick start to get it away from the kick, a multi-band to further sidechain it, and another compression to make the sidechain even tighter. That's the bass layer that knocks you out of your socks when you're listening to it on high-end speakers. But then the top part is comprised of 3 layers. First one is a Reese. But as you can see, it's quite powerful, but it does not have a top end, nor is it very wide. So I layered it with this layer. And it adds a lot of grit and width to the bass, and it's further complemented by a very similar layer that's just a saw wave, but it's pitched up 7 semitones to create a perfect fifth between this layer and the other 2, so that it fills it up harmonically and sounds nice overall. And so together they sound like this. And then on top I applied some processing, which includes an RC20 to make it wobble a bit and distort it, Pro Q to get rid of the lows so that there's room for the sub bass, a compressor to stick them all together, another EQ to thicken up the highs, a reverb without the effects. So you can hear that it's a bit messy, it's a bit muddy, and you can make it sound a lot nicer with post-processing. Nice, clean, just the way we like it. Sticking to the topic of layering, tip number 4 is that you do not have to use synths for your layers. You can just resample stuff to get even cooler sounds. I felt like the main bass in the second part of the first drop needed some more action, and to beef it up, I decided to resample it instead of going for another layer made with a synth. I duplicated the track, I froze it. And now that we have this in audio, we can start messing around with it. I consolidate it. So what I did was simply pitch it up 12 semitones, a full octave, to complement the main sound and add some more highs and grit, and it sounds like this. Very rough and very gritty, precisely what I was going for. And then, just below, you can see the actual layer that I used in the song. I added some compression, heavy distortion, more distortion, spread the stereo image, OTT, some plate reverb, and a tremolo to make the entire thing sound like this. And it works so well with the main sound because it's a derivative of it. So it complements it, but because it's pitched up an octave, it does not clash with it, it just builds on top. Tip number 5 is not to be afraid of stealing stuff from other genres. For example, you don't often hear beat switches in electronic songs, but they are everywhere in hip-hop. So in this case, I used the beat switch in the second drop, and I think the end result is amazing.
Switch.
And to further emphasize the beat switch, I added a few elements like these garage-type hats, which is basically, as you can see here, the only difference in the elements that I used in the drums. Everything else stayed the same, just added the counter kick, changed the pattern of the kick itself, and added a new layer of hats. And so the first part sounds like this. And the bonus tip is that you can turn literally any sound into a cool texture that fills out the space by pitching it and time shifting it. And so now we are in the vocal processing file. I like to process my vocals into the first part, which means cleaning up and EQing in a different project file just to have them clean when I put them into the main project.
Kurwa.
Which is nothing special, I guess. But then once you stretch it,
Kurwa.
this is mostly just playing around with it and seeing what sounds nice. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff here, most of which I probably don't need, but then it sounds like this. And we can plug it back into the main project file. If you want to level up your production game, go and listen to Burst now.